Okay, guys, we're back with a Build More Than Just a Body feature. I'm really excited about this one because Kaylee and I worked together a while back now, or at least feels like that because time's been flying. And she is an awesome person. She's a coach, she's a mom. And through the program, we, of course, focus on food relationship, body image, and overall quality of life. And I'm excited to have her share her journey. So, Kaylee, thank you for joining me.
I am so excited to be here. If I can shout this program from the rooftops for anyone who is struggling with body image or scale or anything, I'm so happy to do that. So thank you for
Thank you
having
for saying that. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Honestly, I'm really glad that you led with the body image piece because when I market and I talk about this program, it's heavy on the food relationship side, but I also emphasize body image. And as you know, in the program itself, there's tons of modules, resources, trainings, discussions on body
me.
image. So let's start there. What was your body image like and relationship with the scale like prior to working with me compared to now?
So as a competitor, I was going pretty hard on nationals. So I was used to being so lean and seeing the lines and the muscles popping out.
Mhm.
And I knew I had to contact you because it was getting to be like I would have, okay, I was off season. It's time to grow muscle. It's time to get my hormones right, like my mental health, everything. And I just felt like I couldn't even enjoy a burger and my cheesecake, favorite type of dessert and meal without waking up the next day and being like, oh my God, and looking in the mirror. And now I look back and at pictures and I'm like, oh my God, this is when I started working with Celeste and I was thinking, oh God, you've already gained your weight back. Like you've gained your weight back and you're done. And I look back and I was like, oh my God, my face was so skinny. Like I was so skinny. I looked like I was in prep. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot just coming from off stage and it was a lot of weighing in and mirror checks. So I wanted to just break out of that. I was eating, I had my quote unquote, my trigger foods was chocolate and I would get like a, chocolate chip bag. Usually I'd be fine with them sprinkle on my yogurt or whatever. And I was eating like the whole bag. And I was like, I cannot. And then I wake up and have the guilt. And I'm like, I can't do this
Mhm.
anymore, especially coming from someone. I'm a coach for women. And I felt just like, oh my God, I'm kind of I felt like a fraud, kind of,
Mhm.
telling other women, like, girl, you're fine to have that meal with your family. And I want you to do that. But then I was beating myself up every day for enjoying the same thing. So
Right.
that's when I was like, no, it's time to change this mental space.
I'm glad that you brought up the part about your identity as a coach as a competitor. So I can recall when I was really struggling with binge eating and a very negative body image post show in 2018. This is when everything really,
Mm.
actually 2017, everything really started to change for me at this point and inspired the Build More Than Just a Body mission, really. But I remember looking in the mirror couple weeks post show maybe and I was like, I ruined everything, I look horrible. And then you fast forward through that, like you get past the disordered stage or those distorted thinking patterns and the way that you view yourself and you're looking at that photo, you're like, I look like I was going to compete next week.
Seriously, it's insane. I literally was looking at like my check-in photos from when we first started working together, and I'm like, I could have jumped on the stage, and I was beating myself up so bad. And then I think we get in this maybe like hamster wheel where we think, oh my God, I blew it. So then we eat even
Mhm.
more because we're like
That's right.
fit. So that's what was happening. And I knew I was like, I don't want to destroy all my hard work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. I was like, okay, well, because I'm already too far gone, then it doesn't matter. It's not, what's the point? And so that's that level of thinking that's all or nothing. It's very much like, well, I just did all this for the show and all this for the competition. And then you start to fall back on some of your commitments or maybe expectations, which expectations I think are one of the biggest issues people face post show is they still expect themselves to be the prep version of themselves, but you're
Mhm.
not supposed to look like that all the time. You're not even supposed to feel like that. Hopefully, you definitely don't want to feel like that. And
Yeah.
then to maintain that level of commitment, yes, that's important for prep, but not for, I think, overall quality of life long term. And for improving, like an improvement season, we need to change the way that we proceed. And that starts with how we view ourselves, and our decisions have a, this is something that I teach people a lot. Our decisions heavily impact the way that we view ourselves. And it sounds like that's what you were saying, is like, because you weren't acting in alignment with your commitments to yourself, then you were seeing yourself in a more dramatic way.
It's crazy how our minds do that and play the tricks on us. And that's why I'm like, so if I am not meditating and like positive affirmations and stuff, which I wasn't doing, just taking care of my mental health and mental space, I can get in this deep rabbit hole. And I think I learned when I was young, actually, I know I learned to use food as comfort. And we worked together on how to deal with stressors and stuff through other ways besides me grabbing anything I can find out of the pantry.
Mhm.
That's another thing that stuck with me so much. And you had me do this with my chocolate, with my trigger. And I
Yep.
tell my clients this, I'm like, oh my God, y'all, this, I don't know how it worked, but it did. You said, take the chocolate or whatever trigger food like it's a vitamin and just take
Mhm.
it. And I did that with my chocolate. And I'm like, is this did this really work? And still to this day, I can have like half a chocolate. I'm like, I don't need that. And yeah, that was one of my favorite things I've learned that I tell everyone about. I'm like, I don't know if it was like in my head, but I swear to God, it worked.
I love to hear that. And honestly, like that's something that I think is really valuable about working with someone, is you get to learn tools and tactics, but also see them work, see them play out, versus sometimes when you just listen to a podcast or someone listens to this, they're like, that's a
Mhm.
good idea, but how do I do that? And working with someone to support you in that journey can be really good. And when it comes to the normalization tactic, and when I tell people to treat it like a mental vitamin, what we're doing is we're creating a safe environment to engage with a food that has become unsafe or has become like a trigger food. So we actually are choosing to expose ourselves on a, we do need to go through like, well, what's the highest level of exposure, and probably not start there.
Mhm.
So that is where working with someone is important. But you look at it now differently because you've chosen to expose yourself in a healthy way versus like only when we're emotional, or oh,
Mhm.
avoiding it because I'm too emotional or it'll trigger
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, or not. I gave up the, sorry if I'm getting ahead of myself. I get all excited.
No,
I
I
gave
like
up
it. I'm excited too.
I gave up the don't have it in your house mentality. And that was another freeing thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just crazy how many things I was doing that were not supporting like a positive mental space for me, that I didn't even know. And one of the things, it's like, don't have that in your house if you're going to eat it. And I last week, my kids got Oreos. I didn't even have one.
That's
And I
awesome.
didn't want it, and I could have had it. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm also excited to see like when I do step up back on stage, how these tools are going to come in handy as I go back into improvement season. So
Yeah, agreed. Especially because you're coming from a place now where you've developed mentally to
mhm,
a different version of a competitor. And you're going to be more aware of those habits or those behaviors that are generally glorified within the fitness industry or the competition industry. And you're able to see like, that's potentially red flag behavior. There's a difference between body checking ourselves to see how am I doing criteria wise? Am I on point with it? And then body checking every time you pass a mirror, obsessively fixating on it and over celebrating a
mhm.
leaner physique every day, and not realizing, hey, if you're going to do that after the show, this is what you're going to have to expect comes with it.
Yeah. And like it's okay to enjoy yourself after your show in healthy like moderation where I'm not
Right.
stuffed and I'm hurting. And it's so easy to go there when you're
Mm-hmm.
restricted. So in even coaching lifestyle, like some girls are, I had my dinner with my family yesterday and it was so good, but I'm going to fast all day today. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do it,
Don't
please.
do it.
And that's so often coming from the belief that if you ate a certain way, then you have to make up for it. And that make up for it is a justification system that actually reinforces
Mm,
doing the same thing. So when we look at negative reinforcements, that's the act of taking something away in an effort to perpetuate the behavior we're trying to see, or maybe that's happening. So
yeah,
when we look at, let's say, binging, overeating, or having something you would unfortunately label as bad, then
right.
you remove food the next day. You're
Mm,
actually reinforcing the overeat, binging, or going off plan
mm,
behavior because you're telling yourself it's fine because I'm going to do more cardio, or it's fine because I'm going to take away this food. And it
yeah,
makes it worse.
it makes it so much worse. Ugh, I know it kills me. It kills me.
Yeah, not to mention the hunger that it can trigger. And then if you're already stressed about the decisions you made. Now, another, I think, common misconception, whether that's a competitor or a lifestyle person, is that the number on the scale is so important to control and manipulate and make sure is in his own. So, how did you see that kind of mentality play out in your life? And how has that since changed?
So when we started together, I just didn't weigh myself. I was like, I just need a break because it's getting obsessive and I want to go off how I'm feeling and how I'm looking. And now I'm able to step on the scale at a heavier weight, like 20 pounds higher than maybe 25. See, now I don't even know because I'm not like calculating, obsessing. I like my body right now where I am able to have more of a booty and
Mhm.
husband loves it,
Exactly.
look at
Exactly.
me. And feeling more energized and having to do less cardio. The things that are going on, lifting heavy. I've never lifted heavier in my life.
Mm.
And I think if I was in the mindset of every morning, it was every single morning stepping on the scale, I think it could have maybe stunted that maybe lifestyle aspect, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like it gets in your head. And
Yes.
I tell all my girls, there's so many things that make that scale go up, so many things. And they're like, I'm the same weight or I'm a pound more, but I feel so good in my clothes. And I'm like, then that's all that matters. Like you're noticing that body composition change, then it's changing. You don't need the scale to
Exactly.
tell you what it's doing.
Yes.
I'm not a slave to the scale anymore like I
Good.
was. And I know in prep, it's like, because our coaches, they need the data. Um,
Yes.
so I get that, but now it's not like, oh, please be 120 or whatever. Please, please, please be. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm like, oh my God, but my
Yeah.
Della's popping out.
That's so true. And like I think there's actually, I know there's scales that exist too where you never have to see the number. It just sends the data to the coach.
Oh
I'll send you
my
that.
God, I haven't heard of that. That's amazing. What can I?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a scale. One of my old clients is using that, and she uses it, and she says it just sends the data straight to her coach.
Yeah, and she doesn't need to know, like, oh, this was
Mhm.
my list or
Yeah, it's
my.
used in eating disorder recovery centers a lot, I guess. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I didn't know that there was something that existed in that realm, but I think that could be helpful for retraining our minds to see it's not really about that is a data point, but it's not the data point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'd be interested in hearing what you felt actually contributed to that fixation on the scale. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you said that you were obsessing over it and maybe you felt that it held you back from progressing in other ways, what was contributing to feeling like you had to keep that weight at a particular zone?
So my coach wanted me at a certain weight, and I am I want that pro card as like I
Yeah.
know we all do, right? So and when I'm in prep, I am in prep. Like my family knows, like she's in prep. Let's go. So whenever I'm giving a number and I'm disappointing myself and not going over that number, or in going over that number as I was, because I was eating snacks all night, not all night, but I would have like several of my favorite snacks at night, mostly chocolate. And I would wake up and I'd be what, like 3 pounds up. And oh my God, I've ruined it all. This is it. I am done. Like,
Mhm.
and I have 3 kids. So I've noticed like my body has changed. I get a little bit more body fat around my waist. And that was something, that has been said to me, like, oh, we just have to tighten your waist up. And I'm like, oh my God, I made all this chocolate straight to my waist. I'm 5 pounds up. I've ruined everything. And then, like I said, being recovered truly and looking back, being like, holy shit, you were tiny. Like, you were fine. Enjoy the
Mhm.
chocolate. You were fine. But it was just the fixation of, if I'm not at that weight, I'm not doing good. And that's hard for me because I'm in things that I'm truly passionate about, like bodybuilding and coaching, and I'm doing what I love. I want to be, of course, the best we can be, right? So
Right?
it's hard pill to swallow when when you feel like you're doing something wrong
Yeah.
and something that
Yeah,
you love. So
that's right. And that attribution or that feeling or that desire or that belief that
right.
weight was indicative of success kept you then probably engaging and perpetuating behaviors that pulled you further from the goal, but that felt like they were helping, or that felt like,
I,
okay, well, and that I see that all the time too, is very, I actually think one of the downfalls of our industry is a hyperfixation on staying within a certain number of your
mhm.
stage weight. I have personally, I look way better and I feel way better and I perform at a high level because I'm not focused there. When I have been, it's like, well, now I'm gonna go do this extra cardio, or I'm gonna eat a little bit
Right.
less. You don't want to push your macros. You don't want to put, but when you actually let that go and you just focus on process orientation rather than outcome or results orientation, naturally you'll move the needle to the place it actually needs to be.
Yeah, I think it holds us back because my body is different than your body. Like, I gained 4 pounds on my cycle of
Yeah,
water retention and
right.
everything. And the girl next to me loses weight. And yeah, I agree. And it's all over social media. And I understand we're not saying go gain all this unhealthy weight off season,
Right.
like, but restricting ourselves is definitely not the way to go. It's counterproductive, truly. Like,
Yeah.
me, in my experience, it didn't do well with me. I got so fixated over it, and I truly think I wouldn't have been able to gain as much muscle as I have already if I was
Mm,
in that mindset. So,
totally.
yeah.
I've done it the other way too, where I've gained too much, if you want to say the word too in that, but I would say it probably
Yeah,
was considering how it affected the next. So I've been there too, and I understand it.
totally.
And we get it from the athlete perspective. There's a performance level that's gonna be potentially sacrificed on both ends of
Yeah,
that, staying too
yeah.
lean or getting beyond a level of condition, or I guess not unconditioned in such a way that you're not performing at a high level anymore. So finding that though requires a bit of courage because you're
Yeah,
gonna
it
have to
does.
push those
You
thresholds.
might go back and forth. Like, I have definitely both ways. And it's meeting, I guess, too, like life trial and error in even
Yes.
lifestyle clients. I'm like, you're going to go through this because you're learning. So yeah, a
Right.
little give and a little take, but now I feel good. I think, too, like more so around the body percentage and maybe scale weight, like on the other end of things, that I feel my best at, and that I don't feel too lean or too tired. My period's back. My period is every month. Like, so it's just, yeah, definitely was a learning process. So I'm like so thankful that I have these tools too. And like the meditations, the body love meditations and
Yes.
everything. It's, yeah, our minds are very powerful. and in every direction, body image, like how we're acting
Mhm.
towards our families, it all trickles out and it starts like with us in our heads. So yeah,
How
it's
has working
heavy.
it is yeah, and you have to be willing to
Give
carry it, and then you have to be willing to put it down and say, I'm
Mhm.
not going to let this potentially weigh in on my life anymore, or I now have the tools and the resources that make this load lighter. I'm sure we've all seen or maybe heard of that image where it's like the problem remains the same size always, or the grief remains the same
Mhm.
size, but your growth, your coping mechanisms, your perspective, that actually grows. So it's not that the problem gets smaller, your ability to handle the problem just gets stronger, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's generally what we see in this lifestyle is like as you progress, it doesn't mean like I get asked this question. This is the question I get so much. What if
Mhm.
my eating disorder comes back? What if my disordered eating comes back? What if I start binging again? Is this going to get rid of it forever? Well, it's hard to say yes or no. I can say I don't remember the last time I ever binged. I really can't remember it. Does that mean that there's never a possibility or a propensity towards binge eating? Yeah, there's a version of me that exists somewhere that engaged in that behavior. But this version of me is like, I don't know her anymore. And if she ever came around, I have so much compassion left. I'm ready to help her. She's not even going to have to worry about that. So
Mhm.
you engage in those behaviors that are healthy and healing long enough. You consistently do the body meditation, you consistently do the mindfulness based eating practices, you consistently engage with the habits and the coping skills that serve you, that becomes your new normal.
Right. Yeah, that hits home because it is there's so many women that have this image. And like we were talking before we even got going about the young girls that are even having these body image issues. And that's why too, I love what you're doing in this amazing movement because it needs to be taught at even young ages that this is not how it has to be. Like diet culture has
Mhm.
screwed us. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I would love to go into schools and
you
churches, and
truly.
I really think that's something that's been a vision long time ago. I tried to do that, but I wasn't equipped the way that I
Yeah,
am now.
you
So it's
do
something
it.
that, yeah, I might have now. This is a total
Yeah,
sidebar. That's something I would love to do.
yeah, you
Now that I've said it and put it out there,
it's
God,
happening.
I'm ready.
Manifest.
Um, yeah, absolutely. So that's something you had touched on earlier, which is people and the impact on people.
Mhm.
So, how has working on your mental health and overall mindset actually affected your ability, maybe your energy or your focus on other important life areas?
So with my coaching, I think I did touch on this a little bit, but just being able to recognize the signs, like someone saying they want to fast or someone like, why am I snacking so much? And I'm like, girl, because like it's from within, like it truly is. And I'm like, I know I might be like the woo-woo coach, but I'm like, we need to meditate. I love therapy. I'm a therapy girl. And as I was working with you, I was, of course, seeing my therapist and just making sure I've always been pretty aware of my mental health since high school. And it's just something I can tell when I'm out of sorts and where I need to, you know, take it into seriousness before it gets worse. So doing the mental health, it helps me be a better wife, be a better mom. I'm more patient. My kids are able, I had ice cream with them the other day. And that was one of our goals that I put. I was like, I just want to
Yeah.
have ice cream with my kids
Yeah.
and not have to worry about counting. And I did. And they're like, Mom, like what are you not they said, not on your diet? I'm like, no. Like I'm not on a diet, it's a lifestyle.
First of all.
So just being able to be present with my kids, like get candy at the movies and them see me, be able to enjoy ice cream with them. It's the little things that you don't realize. Oh, another thing, I went to my best friend's out of state. She moved out of state, my very best friend since childhood. and I got to have drinks with her. I have not done that since probably 2021. I
Yeah.
haven't, yeah, I have not gotten like tipsy with her, and we just went out and I didn't have an issue. I was like having a good time, not worrying about what I should be eating or what I shouldn't be eating, or, it's just living life a little bit better as I'm in improvement season. And you should be able to do this, right? And then coming back and being like, I miss my schedule and like I
Right.
need talks.
Yes.
So just being a better friend, I think being a better mom, wife, able to eat, go on dates. That was another thing we had, that I want to go on dates with my
Yeah.
husband. It's not bring out my macro tracker. So yeah, it really does affect everywhere. And I feel like you don't even realize it. Well, you don't. When you're in it, you don't realize it.
No, you don't until it affects you on a level that almost like matters to you. It's kind of weird. It's like twisted almost like with disordered eating. I find that a lot of people, when it affects like maybe relationships or it affects their body image, then they want to address it because they're actually motivated by the body looking better in some
Right.
regard. Or it's affecting their competition career, so they want to address it.
Mhm.
And or it's affecting their coaching, their alignment with that. It's affecting their marriage. Those types of things that they start to feel there's a level of incongruency that existing that is now outweighing the comfort that comes from engaging with the disorder.
Right.
It's now like, oh, I should address this. And I think
Mhm.
you made some great points about you're free again to, or you are free to enjoy certain aspects of life that previously would bring up maybe guilt, shame, judgment. But because of increased trust in yourself and the
Mhm.
tools to navigate those situations, you can go into them and come out of them more confidently.
Yeah, totally. And just being able to relax a little bit. And honestly, it goes on the flip side. Like some days I'm like, I missed a meal. And usually I'd be like, oh my God, I missed a meal. But I'm like, I'm okay. Like, it's okay. I'm going to do better tomorrow, instead of like obsessing or shoving food down when I'm so full. It just
Mhm.
feels so freeing to be like, oh, you're going to be okay. Like, you're okay. You're going to get to that goal. And another thing I kind of learned through this is it's the timeline of everything. I think we put so much pressure on a timeline for ourselves, when why? Like, why? I get my pro card and then I start all over. Like, just
Yeah.
enjoy this. Like, enjoy it, because I'm going to be, one day we'll be up there and be like, oh shit, we're back to point A. Here we go again. So,
Mhm.
like, trying to be like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this as much as I can because I do this because I love it. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, timelines really ate me up personally.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, I want to achieve this by this time, or I have a show date on the. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to pick show date unless it's a national show.
Right.
Obviously, pick your
Agreed.
show date. You kind of have an idea. But I
Mhm.
think when you're starting your season or you're committing to that, reducing the amount of shows you pick out ahead of time and say, I'm absolutely doing that will actually support taking the process that's most sustainable and beneficial and limiting judgment because there is pressure that comes with a timeline that's good, right? Maybe you're more inclined to adhere, but there's also that negative pressure where if you don't think your body's responding the way that it should be, you might be a little bit more on edge, a little bit more stressed. You might be communicating with your coach differently. You might be doing things behind your coach's back to manipulate that and get ready. That judgment can really be strong. And then you could self sabotage. So I do think timelines are
Yeah.
beneficial at some point, but we don't need to know, oh, I absolutely have to do this.
And I think, like, now that you're saying that, I think a timeline was also contributing to like messing with my head, because I wanted to stay at this weight because I wanted to compete, because I wanted that pro card, and like,
Yep.
boom, 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 boom. You think about it and it's like, but why? Like, just chill, have the ice cream with your kids, like, make the memories with your
Mhm.
kids. And that's something after your program as well that I started saying to my clients. I'm like, you're never going to get the memories back. You're going out of state to see your cousins. like enjoy the meal that your grandmother makes or whatever it may be. Like that is a memory that you're not going to always to get back. You know, you never know
Right.
what happens. So yeah, taking out the seriousness of like Kaylee, you just go enjoy. Like watch your kids' faces when you eat ice cream with gummy bears on it. And you know,
Aw.
because I don't have so yeah, that was I'm truly so glad that I signed up with you and found you because still like yeah, we worked to I can't even remember the month we started together and I'm still like I think about the same tools over and over or when I'm in my head about my weight maybe because yeah the thoughts they will come back and it's
Exactly.
not but the difference is I'm not consumed in it.
It's a
So
matter of knowing what to do with it now.
mm,
Like,
right,
you can understand, okay, there was a version of me in January that thought this way, but now
right,
there's a version of me in July that has these tools and these abilities. So
right.
this person can meet that person and support instead of judgment, criticism, or I don't know what to do with this, or negative behaviors and coping
Yeah,
patterns.
yeah.
And another thing, I'm going to kind of toot my own horn on this one.
Please do, girl.
Because I think I often have to do it myself in posts and stuff, but in conversation, what it allows me to do is say, this is the case. And then you are able to either confirm or deny that that's the case. But something that I pride myself in is the fact that my coaching program includes an entire client portal of resources. So clients get to access that not just while we're working together, but anytime after and
Mhm.
anything new that gets added to it. So I personally pride myself on giving clients tools and resources that I don't find in, and I'm a big advocate for therapy, don't get me wrong, but you're
Yes.
not going to necessarily find that in a local therapist or even an online therapist, but to have a portal of resources and a community that you can continuously connect with, I think that goes a long way.
It does. Having that support and community, we know, and I know you work with lifestyle clients as well, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So, lifestyle, but even like in the competing world, it does get lonely. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
anyone near me who compete. So, expressing thoughts like this is so foreign to them that I'm like, is this just the competing world? Like, is this just what we all feel and think? And we're so hard on ourselves and we're all or nothing. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be like to like get where I want to get? And then it
Yeah.
just comes to a point where you're like, F this. Like, I am not, would I, if I had a daughter, I have three boys, if I had a, would I, or my niece, if I, would I want my niece to feel this way about herself
Mm.
or again, I just felt, you know, a sense of like I was a hypocrite almost as I am coaching men and
Mhm.
wanting them to embrace themselves and just get strong and healthy. Um, yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, I think that a lot of competitors lose sight on the fact that there's life outside of the stage and outside of competing, and actually engaging in that supports your performance overall as an athlete. We want to believe the lie that in order to be successful, we can only have one track mind, and that has to be on this area of life. But in reality, from a sports performance perspective, it's important to have other areas of life that are engaging and fulfilling for us. One, we need an identity outside of the sport, because if the sport comes
Yeah,
to an end or something happens, God forbid, I hope there's other things that are sustaining your happiness or your contentment at the very most, in life. That's important.
mhm,
And also, we need to be able to disconnect from that hyperfixation, because that can then generally contribute to our worth, our identity, our self esteem, which is really the way that we're viewing ourselves and the behaviors we're engaging in. So, in order to prevent that, we need to have engagement outside of the sport or outside of the habits and know that that's okay. So
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that obviously these other areas of your life are getting more of your attention, your energy, your focus. No, but it's not at the expense of your goals as an athlete, and that's really the key. It's actually contributing to your success and your goals as an athlete.
It is. And I thought about, okay, well, maybe this is just not good for me. Like maybe I'm too all or
Mhm.
nothing. And that's like around the time that we started working together. And I finally, you know, was like, no, I can do this. I just need a different mindset. It doesn't have to be a straight path. Like there's so
That's
many
great.
things that, yeah, there's a lot we can do to kind of be less stressed on ourselves or less hard on ourselves to get there. So yeah, I did almost be like, maybe this isn't it, but I'm glad I didn't give up.
I'm glad too. I honestly think that the reason why so many potential champions don't get there is because mental ailments keep them from getting there. When I say mental ailments, I mean the things like body image, food relationship, hyperfixation, quality of life, emotional regulation, emotional health. All of these things, I think, hold back so many athletes who can be great because they don't want to address it because they chalk it up to this isn't for me. I'm not meant for this. I'm to this instead of going, how can I work with myself compassionately and improve so I can actually bring out this champion in me?
And that's another thing I love about this sport because I'm so like psychology and like trying to read people and like think about overcoming is I love a good mindset, hack. I lost 40 pounds to get on the stage after
Yeah.
3 kids. And I meditated every day because it was
Wow.
so challenging. But that is like what I love about this sport. I love that it challenges my mind, even more
Yeah.
so than my body at times. So thinking about that, like when I'm like, no, I can get through this. I can make this healthy. I can do this. And I'm like so happy that I'm where I'm at now and still loving the sport and still like looking at posing and like maybe this suit and like all the fun things that come along with it, but not, oh my God, Kaylee, your lines are gone. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Good to hear that. That's so good to hear. Now, you said earlier you would shout this program from the rooftop. So why would you recommend this to others?
because I don't want other women to wake up feeling guilty about eating certain foods that are good for their soul. And another thing that taught me, don't say bad, don't say good. And I tell my clients that if we want to enjoy our food with our friends and our family and make memories, I don't want anyone waking up the next day feeling guilty, thinking they've gained 3 pounds when it's not the case, that the scale doesn't tell you everything. Like, trust the quality of life, trust your body composition changing in the best way, push heavy weights and eat healthy, 90% of the time, give yourself a little bit of freedom,
Yeah.
journal a lot,
Yeah.
hate to body love.
Yeah.
I just think, what you do changes, it gives us more quality of life, especially just in my opinion as a competitor. I see things so differently now, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think that's a very trapped mindset. And I feel like you helped break free of that. Help me break free of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. That's so awesome. I like that visual too. I
Yes.
think a lot of people know that trap you're referring to. And when you're in it, you feel there's no way out. There's no way out. And I'm supposed to be in this. And this is a helpful place to be, but I feel resistance to it. So can it be that helpful? So to actually liberate yourself from it and see, oh, I can live this life aligned with my values and satisfy them on multiple levels while feeling good mentally and succeeding in my physique goals.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
freeing.
It is. Because I think just growing up, we didn't think, oh, I can eat carbs and I can, it was cardio, salads, and cover yourself up in a bathing suit. And no, we're not into that anymore.
You
It's
know,
almost 25.
yes, that's so crazy too. Like, tell me why this is still a problem. And then, even still 2025, almost 2025, 2024, we also now live in a world that's promoting self-destruction as a
Right.
form of self-love, where no, don't change your physique. Now, obviously, the health at every size movement is not very healthy for a lot of people. It's
Right.
destroying a lot of bodies and health and families as a result. So there's that other side of it. Again, humans, we love the extremes, they're predictable.
Yeah,
So
we
we're
do.
like, let's go over here. F diet culture. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, no, we defined diet in this type of a box instead of
Yeah. We don't
with
need
a
to go
holistic.
here. We need to stay. Like, I always say too to my girls, like, eat what gives you in an ADD mindset. Whenever I did your journaling, one of the questions was, what is this food doing to your body? And so I'm able to ask my girls, well, what is that food doing to you? Like, and I have so many clients come back and be like, that really helped me as I was on vacation. I'm like, girl, get your protein in, or if oats make you feel like crap, even though they're not the worst thing for us, then don't eat them. We're all so
Exactly.
different. Just understanding, how is this making me feel? Rice floats the hell out of a lot of people, but not me. So, just realizing too, staying in tune with your body, being more mindful. And I owe a lot of that too, to the journaling of just wondering or asking myself, how is this feeling after?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That is the core of the program is we're changing the way we think about food. So that way, every time we're in a situation that involves food, those thought processes are coming up and they're a healthier place to think about food. And
mm,
it's no longer about what is the food. It's now about why. It's about what's behind it. So, to anyone who is considering working with me, I hope that you'll take action on that. You can apply to work with me at celestial.fit/food freedom. If you want to go through the free food relationship coaching series first, you can do that at celestial.fit/food series. I obviously am so grateful to clients like Kaylee for coming on and sharing their story. So, Kaylee, is there anything else you want to add or touch on before we wrap up?
no, I just want to say, if you're thinking about it, it's in your head for a reason, and just do it because it's going to freaking help you. I promise. And thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was so fun and awesome. And I'm grateful for not just your kind words, but your professional insights as well.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. And again, you can visit celestial.fit/food freedom to learn more.